Hello again, and welcome to another of Mosaic's Coffee Breaks. Mosaic is, of course, a collaboration of the organisations shown at the front of this presentation, and that collaboration focuses very much on the ownership issues associated with mid-market law firms. And when we say ownership, we mean everything associated with ownership, mergers and acquisitions, partnership structures, succession planning, partner exits, and everything associated with all of those issues. I hope you enjoy this broadcast.
Our next and latest Mosaic Coffee Breaks, where we traditionally at this time of year give you our highly accurate, Nigel, predictions of what's going to happen in the course of the next year. Highly accurate, not. So we're each going to go around the table, a metaphorical table, and give you some ideas and thoughts of what we think for the coming year. So, Mark, let's start with you. What are your thoughts and predictions for the coming year?
I can't start again. I haven't got a clue because we've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now, and I've been so horribly wrong each year. I don't know really where to start. I'm also thinking we're recording this before Christmas, so if aliens have landed during Christmas, let's ignore all of that. I have this feeling that it's going to be a tough market. I think in the legal market we're still going to see more and more consolidation. The issue we've been talking about for years of partners of small to medium firms getting older and not sorting their succession are there. As they get older, as the pressures of the SRA, depending on what the insurance market does, there's going to be more and more consolidation in the market, I think, as we go through. I think it is the key thing, and it's going to be tough, although if interest rates stay high, that will probably provide a bit of a comfort blanket to those firms that are struggling out there. Beyond that, I don't know, what are we going to see happening? I'm sure that we're going to see more people coming into the market to consolidate or whatever with a view that they're going to make it work. We've still not seen one who's really made it work yet, but that will be exciting to see if someone can crack that market. Beyond that, who knows?
Who knows? Let's see what the rest of us have got to say. Who are we going to pick off next? Let's pick off Barry next in terms of what he thinks is going to be the case.
Well, I think Mark has actually preempted most of the things that I had on my checklist. I think the economy, particularly the sector that I deal with is not in the city centre corporate firms. It's what I'd always describe as the best firm in provincial towns and cities. And at that level, the residential property market is important. And I think that the collapse in the volume of transactions going through there is going to leave a big hole in many firms, and is going to prompt more of the consolidation which Mark referred to. I think the other area that I'm finding is still a struggle is the recruitment market, and particularly the ability to recruit anybody between about 25 and 35. And that is actually, I think, driving more of the consolidation, because the small and medium-sized firms, even good ones, are finding it difficult to get hold of the people. And the thing about demographics is you can't go backwards and do much about it. If the people weren't born, or in this case, weren't trained, you can't actually suddenly magic them up. So I think that's going to add a further impetus to the consolidation that Mark was talking about. Albeit, yes, the interest on the client accounts is at least helping some of the residential property firms at least break even on the residential property. So that's me.
Lovely. Tom, what are your predictions for this year?
I'm with Mark. It could be aliens, which is probably no less valid a prediction to the one that I made last year. So Mark hit many of the sort of macroeconomic nails on the head, didn't he? But to pick up that theme and sort of apply it to the wider client base, if you see what I mean. So your law firm might be fine, you might be okay, but what's going on in your client base? You know, is that cost of living crisis affecting things? Does it mean that your corporate property team is doing less work? Does it mean that your commercial team has got the work but isn't being paid because everybody's gone bust? So I would sort of think about some of those second and third order effects, even if you think, well, my firm's okay. How does that affect your client base? Do you need to think about your payment terms? Do you need to think about who you're engaging with and when and how? And since we're doing predictions, I'll just throw into the mix that at some point we assume in 2024, or perhaps incredibly early in 2025, there is also a general election. And so if you believe the polls, I assume we might have a new government at some point in the next 12 months. And I also assume that they might make some reasonably radical changes to things like the tax base and things like that. So the kind of, that could sort of throw an interesting thing into the mix at some point in 2024 when our erstwhile Prime Minister decides he's had enough.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom. Yes, I had tried to keep away from the election and the such like in my predictions, but no, it's bound to be an impact. It's bound to an extent have a drag on the economy, isn't it? While people are waiting to know what's happening. Before we move on to Nigel, perhaps I do my three predictions. My first one is linked to, it's quite a techie thing, this change in basis of taxation for professional practices and sole traders, whereby if you don't have a March year end, there's a big tax catch-up hit, and that is going to hit firms in January 2025, and I'm seeing significant amounts coming through for clients there. And that, to my mind, is going to drive increasing work for all of us around this table on new capital structures, on admitting new fixed share partners to put capital in, and perhaps some banking work as well, although I still don't expect the banks to be particularly helpful in terms of funding this additional tax. So I think that's going to be one area that's a significant increase in work for us. Secondly, much as I'd really love to see a pushback of regulation and bureaucracy amongst regulators, amongst the banks, my hate people, which genuinely I think is a drag on the economy and the drag on profitability in businesses, I think we're going to see even more regulation and more bureaucracy. I think we've seen the SRA wanting to be a super regulator, taking over various other regulatory bodies. It's going to get worse and worse, and I think it's going to be more and more of our work going around the table. And finally, my last prediction is we're all going to be super busy, and I'm looking forward to Mosaic going from strength to strength and continuing with our ever deepening connections between one another. That's me before I finally pass over to Nigel.
Well, let me just start by saying here, Howard. I think we all echo those thoughts. And I'm very grateful to all four of you for doing all the sensible predictions, because I think you've covered everything I could possibly have thought of. And it leaves me simply to reflect on the experience I've had doing this for the last 4 years, and seeing every single thing I've ever predicted fail to materialize in the year ahead. Therefore, I am not going to put the mockers on the outcome of the general election that I'm hoping for, by predicting the downfall of this government and a welcome change of government, because if were I to do so, I know that there'd be a surprise result. What the last few years has taught me is that age and experience does not equal wisdom and foresight, and therefore I think I'm going to resist adding to the very sensible prognostications that you guys have come up with. So that's my first prediction is, and there'll be no predictions from me. Predictions 2 and 3, see prediction number 1. I'm looking forward to working with you guys next year. This year's been good. I've enjoyed the work that we've done on the website. I've enjoyed our get-togethers, our face-to-face meetings in London and Manchester. It just goes to show that work can be great fun as well as recording. So a happy new year to all of our viewers, especially Howard's mum, and look forward to working with all our clients again next year.